I think I've had a lot of different obstacles present itself in terms of trying to reach these levels and reach these heights. A lot of people would have given up, bro. A lot of people would have stopped the race. I just didn't stop, man. And I think that the visionary talent that I feel like I have wouldn't have meant nothing without the resolve to keep going.
Welcome back to another episode of the Creator Spotlight series in a partnership with the Praise the Phrase show. My name is Daniel, founder and CEO of the Monarch brand. This series is designed to platform creatives in the visual, performing, culinary, and language art spaces. And yo, we keeping it coming with the good guests, man. As a boxing fan and a person who's generally curious about what makes people tick, I discovered this next guest through his platform, Cigar Talk, where he interviews boxers as well as artists. One thing that stood out to me is the way that boxers open up to him. Like, I really only see boxers opening up to people like that on platforms with like fellow boxers, not necessarily with like media, for lack of a better word, not to oversimplify, but it really stood out to me. So I started researching him, and I quickly realized that I was just scratching the surface on what this brother does for real. So I was like, I got to get to know this guy more. Very honored to have with me today Naji Grampus. He is a music executive, VP of streaming at Urban Strategy, Sony Orchard, host of Cigar Talk. First of all, thanks for joining me. Second of all, how you feeling today, bro?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. You know, we right around the holidays, so I'm gonna take some time to just break and chill out with the family and all of that. But you know, thank you for having me, man. I also researched and checked out your platform as well, and you're doing some dope work, man. So I appreciate the invite, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You have any specific plans? You traveling for the holiday?
Nah, man, yo, I travel a lot, bro. So I'm looking forward to doing nothing. Like, I want to stay at the crib, you know, chill with my girl, play Madden. Like, I just want to chill out. I ain't trying to do too much. So just the, you know, family, be around family, relax. I ain't trying to do too much over the next like week or two, because 2026 we coming hard.
Love to hear it, bro. You and me both. That's what's up, though. I like to start out with a little icebreaker. So I have a question for you that I think will marry two things that you're into, music and boxing. What would be your walkout artist and or walkout song if you were to have your own fight?
Damn. You know what? It's so funny you asked me that, because me and my girl the other day, this was like the other day, and I was like, yo, if I was a boxer, I'm walking out to this right here. Like, this is literally the other day. It was Chief Keef, Finito.
Ah, yeah.
Like that era, man, that when drill first started was like, you know, it was just gritty, man. It's like the epitome of streets and struggle, and like, you know, people that you're in an environment that, you know, I'm a gorilla in the coop, right? Like, you just gotta let it all out and
For sure.
just go crazy. And yeah, I think that, you know, that Chief Keef era for me, it puts me in the mode where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to get it on.
That's hard. He came out with Tank, right? I think he did Love Sosa, though, if I recall.
Yeah,
or did he do
exactly. Yeah, he did. I was there for that, actually. I'm trying to remember what fight that. I think that was Frank Martin. He fought Frank Martin, and yeah, he did Love Sosa. Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard. I like to like kind of calm myself down before something like that. I thought about the question myself as I asked it. I would do Kendrick Levitate. I just like the message behind that. Like, it's subdued. Like, the beat hits hard, but it's kind of subdued. Like, yeah. Blank don't get you high as this. Like, the different things, yeah. Levitate. Like, I think that would be
calm before you get into the storm. Like, calm before the storm.
Exactly.
Got you.
But Finito is hard though. I like that. So I want to start out with, I like to go kind of chronologically, and even in my research, there's a lot of blanks that I would like to fill in, like with your story. So I kind of want to start with the childhood. So you're from New York, right?
Yep, born and raised, man. I was born in Harlem. I was raised in Queens. Queens, man. That's where I spent majority of my life, just kind of going back and forth between different sides of Queens, north side and south side. You know, my mom moved us when I was young to the north side to kind of get away from all the craziness. But my grandmother still lived on, you know, on the south side, like Linden and Merritt. So I spent a lot of time kind of going back and forth, but exploring all parts of Queens, man. I'm a real New York kid.
So, what were you kind of into back then? Like hobby wise in general?
Yeah, man, I was into a lot of things, bro. Basketball, you know, I love playing ball. You know what I'm saying? I was into dancing back then too. Like dancing was
Okay.
like, you know, in New York around that time, there was like, you know, Harlem Shake, and it was like a movement of like where dancing was like cool. And yeah, I was into that, man. I was Harlem shaking and chicken noodle soup at parties and all that kind of good stuff. But also early on, like middle school, I was on a step team. There was like, stepping like the sort of like the Greeks and whatever. I was on a step team as a youth. And that actually played a large role in my life, my development, that step team, man. I learned a lot from being around those people, but also like it allowed me to travel at an early age, right? Because of that step team, like we used to do a bunch of things and travel and get booked to go everywhere. So, I went to South Africa when I was 13 years old from that, right? Like touring Africa. And, I went to Australia a few times doing that. So I think my youth and childhood, I was kind of seeing certain things that a lot of people where I'm from weren't, due to that. And I think that definitely had an impact on my life and just how I saw the world beyond where I live.
For sure. I could definitely see that being the case. Cause with New York, you don't really have to go anywhere. Like
Yeah.
outside of New York.
I mean, everything is here, right? Like it's New York. So it's like, all races accounted for, all people mixed in. It's the big melting pot. But, traveling that early and doing those type of things, I met lots of different people, man, from all walks of life. And, I was in Europe and Rotterdam and, Amsterdam, all of these places, like, at 16, 17, you know what I mean, doing these things. And it kind of just opened me up to understanding like, man, this world is very big and there's a lot to explore. But also I met a lot of different people who in their own right were doing big things. And it kind of inspired me to be like, oh man, like, damn, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I had the opportunity as a youth to see a lot of people that I admired. And I think that translated to me as an adult ultimately.
Did you take anything like from the added perspectives? Did you get anything? Did you start to craft your own vision from that? Or did you already have a vision of what you wanted to do?
No, I don't think so. I didn't necessarily have a vision of what I wanted to do, but I was like, I want to be on. That was what I say. Like, I got to get on. I don't know what that means or what that looks like, but I was always someone who knew that, you know, I want to be greater than the circumstances of what I seen around me growing up. You know what I mean? And I want to be greater than that. And I felt like I had the ability to be. So I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do, but I was just like, I want to do something that I'm able to, you know, make money and put on for my family and have a lot of fun doing it.
Definitely. So going into college from that, you were a business major. What was your mindset transitioning from high school into college? Was it still sort of, I just want to be on, or was it a little bit more guided going into college?
Yeah, bro, it's always I want to be on. It's still that today. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of that just sticks with me. But I think college, I didn't. I was a business major because simply like I just wanted to make money, right? And I'm like, I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I'm still just trying to figure out like the direction of my life, right? Like this is the part like if you exit high school and you're not sure what you want to do, it's just like you kind of go to college to try to figure out what that looks like. Um, and I wasn't a great student. I mean, I think I was good at taking tests, but I just wasn't disciplined enough. Like I ain't do homework and stuff like that. So I didn't get into the colleges I wanted to get into, like to go away or anything like that. So ultimately I stayed in New York and, went to city schools. With that, I just, I remember graduating high school and I was on Google and I'm like, what jobs make the most money? And it was like a hedge fund. A hedge fund manager is the thing. So I was like, all right, we going to hedge funds. So like I literally made my career path based on like a Google question. So yeah, I got into business school and, I started studying that and I interned for a hedge fund. And then I realized like, yo, I actually don't like this. I don't enjoy this. And, college for me was just, I went to college in New York City, right? So this is the first time, I'm now 20, 21 years old. I'm able to get into places and do things. So my city life and my college life was more about exploring New York and all that it had to offer, more so than just like the schooling portion.
For sure. Did you worked as a paralegal during that time as well, right?
Yeah. My mom, she was a detective at the district attorney's office. You know how that go? Mom's like, yo, well, if you're going to be in my house, you got to get a job. You know what I'm saying? You ain't going to just be chilling at the house. She got me a job over there at her office, at the district attorney's office. So I started off just like, like a clerical assistant and just kind of worked my way up to being a paralegal. And I think at that age, especially, I think I got that job maybe like fresh out of high school. So I was like 18, 19. So I was going to school and working as well, working full time. But at that age, like I'm 18 years old with a salary job, right? At that time, this is I graduated 2006. So this is probably like 2007. I'm making like 40, 50,000. And at that time, that's a good salary for that age, especially in the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I had a little paper, I got a little car, you know what I'm saying? Luckily, like I said, shout out to my mom. She, she was a detective over there, was able to pull some strings to get me in. So, I was working at the district attorney's office at a pretty young age.
Okay. That's shout out to mom for real. Cause like coming out of college, even for me, graduating college, that was about where I was at. And, that was not a bad living back then.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So your first job out of college, you was a councilman's aide. What was that like? And did that shape you at all?
Definitely, man. Definitely. Shout out to the councilman. His name is Mark Weprin, man. Good dude, solid dude. We still talk to this day. So I always been interested in politics. Like just the idea of there are a group of people that ultimately shape the construct around the way you live, right? And that's important, man. As somebody that cares about my community and, how it functions, I've always been interested in politics, just kind of on my own, like looking at it and reading about it. And, I paid attention. I would be the kid, like I would watch CNN just to see what's going on in the world and what people are doing. And, I became interested in politics at the local level, right? Like, what does that look like? How does that affect my community? So one of the things I did at the time, before I actually worked there was, so the councilman, his brother was also an assemblyman. He was a councilman. His name is Mark Weprin. So he was a councilman and his brother David was an assemblyman. And so I went to one of the meetings one time. They had like a community meeting. And I was like, yo, I want to go to the meeting just because I want to see like what's going on. And again, I'm just thinking like, I'm trying to find my path. And I'm like, man, a politician, they making money. They got some power. Like, I'm just trying to figure out like what I'm going to do. And so I went to this meeting and I met the assemblyman and, we spoke and we talked for a while and I just told him, my story. And I was like, look, I don't know if I can help you anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'll go get the coffee. I'll drive you around, like whatever. Like, let me, if you ever need any help, just let me know. And he was like, actually, my assistant just left and I do need someone to drive me around. And, I drove him to an event And like I built a relationship with this guy. He's the assemblyman of, it was District 23 in Queens. So I was his driver for a while. You know what I mean? Like I would just drive him to events. Now, mind you, this guy is Jewish, right? So like I'm the only black guy just going to all of these Jewish events. It's like, it's a lot of different people. And again, this is politics. So there's like, you know, I met the mayor at the time. This is Mayor Bloomberg. Like there's just different people that move and shake the city and have a bunch of different roles that ultimately operate the world around us. And I learned a lot just being able to see how he operates, but also being able to see how government runs. You know what I mean? So I just took that time to like really sit back and just drive him and learn. You know what I mean? I would just learn from him. Whatever they needed. Yo, you need a coffee? Cool. I'm gonna go get it. You need this? Cool. I'll do it. One time he asked me to do his dry cleaning. And these are all things that people are like, yo, these, you know what I mean? These are crazy, like you being a butler or an assistant. But I didn't care, man. I'm like, yo, I just want to find my way in to like figure out how to do this. So anyway, after that, I really became, you know, I developed an interest in politics. And he was moving on from the state assembly. He was like, yo, listen, my brother works, he's running for city council and he's going to need help. And I think, me and him built a relationship. So he was like, yo, I'm going to introduce you to my brother and see if I could get you a job. So that happened. And I started working with his brother in the city council.
That's super cool. I didn't know that played out that way. So shout out to you for that. What was it about, you said you felt tied into community all this time and that kind of drove your interest in politics. Was that something that just was always in you just growing up? Was that something you developed, or like why is that so important to you?
I mean, I just feel like when I look, especially like historically on what my people had to go through, like, you know, black and brown people, I'm African American, you know what I mean? And we have a rich history in this country, right? Like being brought over as slaves and those things. And, you know, that's always been interesting to me, right? Like how we as a community, like I said, at some point in our lineage, we're all African, right? Like at some point you go far enough back and you're going to see, right? Like there's African ancestry in your DNA. But for me, my immediate family, right? Like my mom, my grandmother, my great grandmother, like everyone's from here, right? And I wasn't, you know, so on my mother's side, my grandfather was Caribbean from Barbados, but outside of that, everyone else was like from here, right? So I never felt a tie to like other countries, right? I think as an African American, you don't have a flag, you don't have a language, I think that's kind of what made me gravitate to understanding like, man, my community has a rich history and all the things that we had to go through as a people to try to get to the next level of just, right? One is decency, equal rights, right? But then the next part after that is how do we as a community flourish? And when I started kind of reading books about, Black Wall Street and the different pockets that we had as a community to where we were ultimately able to engage our resources to elevate, that always interested me, man. Like just the aspect of community and what we have to do to get to the next level together. And I feel like a large part of that is politics, right? Like, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with politics or care about it or whatever the case is. And I think maybe even on a federal level to an extent, but at your local level, that directly affects you, right? Like your school systems, right? Like the roads, the hospitals, like all of the things that create the basic needs, like for you as a community, those things are directly tied into politics. So I don't know. I think I've always been interested in my culture and my people and all of the things that we've done and the leaders like Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, like all of these, Ralph Abernathy, like all of these people I've always, heard about or read about or did something. And, I always feel like that impact.
Yeah, for sure. So in 2017, you had been doing this position for, I believe, about 4 or 5 years. And then you had pivoted to being a junior manager at Westington Entertainment. You managed clients such as Macklemore, Ryan Lewis, Flatbush Zombies. What happened in between those last two jobs that caused you to pivot?
Yeah, man. Yo, that to be honest, that was one of the most difficult transitions in my life, bro. Like that moment of so I guess what happened was a city council term is 4 years. You know what I mean? So the councilman I was working for at the time, there was a congressional seat open that he ran for Congress. At the time, it looked like he was going to win, but ultimately he didn't end up winning, and that put my future in jeopardy as well, right? Where it's like, man, I'm tied to this guy, and if he would have went to Congress, I would have been right with him. So I'm thinking like, yo, we about to this Congress, like this the White House, nigga, like we about to go to the White House. We on. That's what I'm thinking. And when he didn't win, it ultimately shifted drastically my plans, right? So he's like, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And ultimately that meant I had to figure out what I was going to do. And at the time, I built up a network and I was trying to like find my way into another, maybe city council spot, and I'm applying for jobs and I couldn't get a job, bro. Like I'm just applying and I'm doing things and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And I'm like, I couldn't get a job. Like I'm applying for everything. I'm trying to network. I'm doing my best and it wasn't working out. So where the transition ultimately happened during this point, right? Like I'm doing politics, right? But this is my day job. So it's politics in the day, and how I ultimately became interested in working in the music industry. A friend of mine, shout out my boy 360 is his name, or what we all call him 360. Anyway, he rapped. This is my man, right? Like this is my man from the block. Like he rapped and I thought he was dope. Like everybody in the hood was like, this guy's he's dope. Like we could do something. So I remember one day him and I we went to Vegas and he was just this was like after a party. We drunk and he's freestyling and it was so fire. And I'm like, yo, we gotta do something, bro. We can't just do this block stuff. Like we gotta really do it. Let me manage you. And he was like, all right. So I started making a plan. And like I said, I'm from New York. So during all of this time, like in the daytime, I'm at City Hall suited up, right? I'm in a suit at City Hall 9 to 5. And at night, I'm in the strip club. I'm in the clubs. Like we at events, we moving around the city. And I'm trying to like get my boy hot, like get my boy popping. And at this point, right, like this is the blog era. So like, Two Dope Boys, Nah Right, Rap Radar, like all the like rap blogs is like a thing. That's you wake up World Star, like you wake up and go to the blogs. Like that was what we did at the time. And my guy started getting, some notoriety in the city. So I kind of had these two worlds that I was juggling where, like I'm doing politics in the day and then at night, I'm doing this rap thing. And it was kind of like, when the politics route ended, it just forced me to be like, I just got to step it up with this rap shit. Like, we got to make it. We have to make it, bro, because this isn't working for me. So ultimately, that transitional period, it was like my guys winning, how the Wexington entertainment thing happened. There was a guy that we met named Josh. Salute to Josh. He played a major role in my story. He was an agent at this company called the Agency Group. Agency Group was a big booking agency. They had, Macklemore, A$AP Rocky, like they had all the top rappers at the time that, they would book shows. Anyway, I met this guy and I was trying to get him to book my guy, shows. Ultimately, he didn't end up signing my guy, but we stayed cool. So what happened was, like I said, rap shit is like actually working. We on the radio. My mom heard it. My mom's like, yo, I heard you on the radio. Da, da, da. Like it's working. So I'm thinking like, man, yo, we about to blow up. Like it's only a matter of time. And then my artist goes to jail. He ended up getting locked up and sentenced to 5 years. So at that point, my whole world felt like it was crashing. I'm like, damn, like I tried this politics thing. It failed. It's not working. And then I'm like, damn, I had this music thing. And I'm like, I just kind of felt I was at a place where I was just stuck, man. And I'm like, damn, what am I going to do? So I just spent that time doing a bunch of odd jobs, bro. Like we had built a studio. So I was like managing the studio, trying to bring clients to like scrape up money for the studio. I was driving an Uber. Like I was, I got my Uber license. I'm driving an Uber. Like I'm just doing everything to stay afloat, man. You know what I mean? I was, doing a couple of things just to stay afloat. You know what I'm saying? And at that point was when the podcast era started, and I was like, yo, you know what? I'm applying for music industry jobs. No one's calling me. I can't get a call back. Like this is a span of like maybe two and a half, 3 years almost. I'm just hustling, trying to figure it out. And I was like, yo, I got to do something that'll be a virtual resume because no one's hiring me. And I was like, if I don't do something, I'm going to be stuck in this loop of people just looking at my resume and overlooking me, even though I know I could do it. I know if I get a job, I could kill it. I just need to just get in. So I was like, yo, I'm going to start a podcast. And I started Cigar Talk, and I knew a lot of people already, like I said, from my man rapping and just being outside and networking. I knew a lot of people. I was like, yo, if I could just get all the people I know to come on my show, I could create enough buzz that a record label is going to look at me and be like, all right, man, this guy, yo, he's making shit shake, man. We got to get this guy. So I ultimately started Cigar Talk because I couldn't get a job. And I was like, I need to do something so that I could get noticed.
Yeah, I can see that. I do want to back up because I am curious. So you tell your guy you want to manage him, but you had never managed before. So what was it like going from zero to manager? Because like you got him hot. So like, what were you Googling? What were you putting into motion? Because like all of a sudden you got on this hat that you had never worn before.
Yeah. To be honest, man, that's how I am, bro. I'm like a jump straight in and we make mistakes as we go, bro. That's how I'm wired. Like I'm not really tentative. I'm like, let's jump in the pool and sink or swim. Like it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And thankfully he had faith in me to trust and to navigate his career. But I also can't say I did it only solely by myself. One of my guys, one of my closest friends is a guy named B-Dot. My boy B-Dot, he worked at this company called Rap Radar. And at the time he was working for Double XL magazine. So B-Dot was a popular blogger, and this is my guy, right? So him and another gentleman, Elliot Wilson, had one of the hottest podcasts. So B-Dot was my friend, and I was a +1 at all the events with my boy, right? So like B-Dot, he got his own name. Like B-Dot could go to, these music industry events, and, he's a popular blogger, and I was his +1. He would just bring me because that's my man. Like, yo, come through. I'm going over here, come through. And so salute to B-Dot, but a lot of what I was able to accomplish was, Dot kind of helping me out and giving me guidance and things that he's seen in his journey in the music industry. And then it's also like, once I get in these rooms, it's my time to shine, right? Like you in the room, like, make some connections, figure out who's who. And I think, one of the lost arts today, I feel like because everything is so internet based, people forget the real life building phase. And I think, to me, that was one of the keys to me being able to get to the next level was I was outside so much that I kept seeing the same people over and over and over. And they would see me like, yo, what do you do? Even at this time, I'm not really even doing nothing. Like, like I said, I manage my boy who's an upcoming rapper. But it's like you see somebody so much and, you kind of create a presence to where it's just like, yo, who is this guy? What do you do? I see you at all these events. What's up? And I was able to kind of build and learn from there, man. So, shout out to my guy B-Dot for even bringing me around, man, and kind of giving me that. But I think ultimately that's kind of what it was, man. I was just like, yo, let's figure it out.
Yeah. So how did your first opportunity at the Orchard get presented?
Well, ultimately my Cigar Talk plan worked, right? Like I had a lot of big artists and rappers on my show, right? Like I interviewed Nicki Minaj. That was like one of the biggest moments of my career. We did like a Cigar Talk meets Queen Radio. So she brought me to her studio in LA and I interviewed her on Queen Radio, Apple Music, and 50 and Lil Durk and Baby when he was hot. Like I interviewed a lot of big artists and it did a lot of numbers, right? So kind of how the Orchard thing came about, like I said, as I told you, I spent all of these years just applying for jobs and getting turned down. And it was so frustrating, man. Like I always tell people I gave up 1,000 times. I gave up. And then a week later, I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm back. I gotta just try again. I gotta try again. And one day I got an email from somebody, or maybe I think somebody hit me on LinkedIn. It was like, hey, we came across your profile. We're opening up this manager job. And, it's a manager job in urban, and we saw your podcast and we feel like, you might be a good fit to interview. So could you come interview? And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I'm all in. Like, I couldn't, you know what I'm saying? So at this time, so I think I mentioned the guy, Josh, who wanted to sign my guy to the agency group. He ended up leaving. This was my first job in the music industry prior to the Orchard. He ended up leaving the agency group to manage Macklemore full time. And he was like, yo, I need some help. And you're the guy that comes to mind. Like, I feel like I need help, and, would you be down to come with me? And I'm like, hell yeah. So I spent a lot of time in Seattle. Ben, I guess Macklemore to everybody, but Ben, he lived in Seattle. And so I spent a lot of time out there as well. And during that time, like I said, I'm learning a lot. I'm doing, now Macklemore at this time, like this guy, this is a mainstream rapper, right? Like this ain't just like street rap. This is like Good Morning America. This is like mainstream rap, right? Like, white middle America is buying tickets to these shows. So I learned a lot, and I think having that on my resume plus the what I was doing with Cigar Talk, people from the Orchard just reached out to me and they were like, yo, we're starting a new role and we want to see if you want to apply. And I applied, and luckily the person who's my boss to this day took a liking to me, and man, we've been rocking ever since.
That probably hit different, right? Like going from applying from all these jobs and getting rejected to being hit up because of what you had built and because of connection you made. Like, I imagine that felt good too.
Man, it was crazy, bro. It was like a lot of times I realized this in my life and my career path, that it takes long, and you don't know when the moment's going to hit. You don't know. You can't predict it. It could be years from now. And it's like, do you want to be committed enough to put in the years of work without results that it takes to get to the moment where you like, finally I'm here, right? And yeah, man, it felt like a culmination of just like years and years of work that I finally got an opportunity. And even that opportunity, I started at the ground level, right? I was just a manager, right? So it was like, it's coordinator, manager. But I knew once I get in the door, I knew I could flourish. I just needed my shot. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to the Orchard and those people and my people that, shout out to Sony, man. They gave me a chance to show the things that I could do. And I think once I actually got in the building, it kind of started taking off, man. And, it definitely hit different, and I'm super grateful that they gave me the opportunity.
Very dope. And clearly the work has paid off, because I mean, in your 7 years there, just about, you manager urban sales, marketing and promotion, director of urban strategy, VP of streaming and strategy, which is what you do now. How has that growth been at like a high level? Like how do those roles differ?
Just more responsibility, man. I think as a manager, your responsibility and your expectations are just like, here's your description and do this, right? Like, and you're just trying to figure out, cool, like I'm going to do what they gave me, but how do I continue to elevate, right? And I think for me, my elevation point was, and I didn't get hired to like sign people, right? I didn't get hired to do that. But I come from the school of nobody turns down good work. You know what I mean? And like, that's everywhere. That's corporate America. That's the street, right? Like if I come to you in the street with some good work, like, hey, I got the fire over here. If it's fire enough, you're going to be like, all right, I'm interested, right? And I think that's that's kind of what I learned in my journey is nobody turns down good work. If the work is fire, they're going to be open and receptive. So what happened is once I got in, like I said, is I'm a manager of sales and commerce. So my job was to get people on playlists, right? Like when you go to Spotify and Apple Music, there are people that program these playlists, and these playlists ultimately lead to discovery, right? Like there's millions and hundreds of thousands and millions of people that listen to these playlists. And the higher you are in the playlist, the more chance you have of getting your art discovered. So it was my job to like get cool with the people that program these playlists so that when our artists are up, I got to get them on the playlist. But so kind of how that works and how I told my job is like, yo, listen, I can only be as successful doing playlists as the artists we got, right? Like if I don't got dope artists, they ain't going to program the playlist just because I'm friends with them. Like, they got a job to do also. So kind of what happened was, and again, I'm trying to summarize 10 years of stuff into this, but there was a point where I was blogging for Rap Radar. I told you my guy B-Dot, he let me be a blogger too. So I was blogging on Rap Radar. I would write articles. But in that process, a lot of artists would hit me up like, yo, check me out, check my music. And the one artist who I really took a liking to was this kid named Baby Keem. He sent me his music in like maybe 2016, 2017. This is before I had the Sony job, and I just thought the kid was dope. I'm like, yo, you fire, bro. Like, yo, you're super dope, and I feel like you could really blow up. So, I just stayed in contact with him. We did a lot of stuff together, studio sessions, and we chilled together and blah, blah, blah. And when I got to Sony, I would go to the boss, the guy who was the boss at the time. I'll be like, yo, I know we don't know each other, but there's this kid, Baby Keem. He fire. I'm telling you, like, y'all need to sign Baby Keem. And, again, I'm just this new guy, like the new manager that everybody, get out of here, man. Like, what? But I would go to this guy's office every week, like at least once a week, and be like, yo, I'm trying to tell you, Baby Keem, don't miss the train. And it took me like at least a month or 2 months before of doing it. I would go to his office once a week and say this every week until he's like, all right, man, all right. Let me check out this Baby Keem thing. And he heard it. Now, mind you, at the time, I don't know if you're familiar with Baby Keem at all. He's Kendrick Lamar's cousin.
You probably the reason why I'm familiar.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah. I'm one of them. Not the only reason, but
for
one of them. But he's Kendrick Lamar's cousin, so I kind of knew at the time, I'm like, we got an ace in the hole, right? Like, if you sign this kid, like, and ultimately the guy, once he kind of tapped in, he was like, damn, this shit is fire. And he signed him. And the same with this other girl named Thames. You know what I mean? I kind of told him about Thames. And like, so I was bringing people to this guy who's signing people, and I'll be like, yo, this shit is fire. Check it out. And once it ultimately like blew up, everyone's like, yo, who brought this kid in? And then it was like, I'm the manager in the corner, like, yo. And it, that ultimately changed my life, right? Like, he when you make a corporate company millions of dollars, like people start paying attention to you. Like things, your word means a little more. And I say all that to say is like my level kind of grew because I forced it. I didn't just stay at what, like, all right, here's your description, do this. Cool, I did that. But like, how do you find holes in a bigger entity and plug the holes? Plug the holes. Like I said, nobody's turning down good work. And I feel like I brought the good work to the table. And once everybody else realized the quality of work it was, ultimately that leveled up my position in the music industry, but at this company.
That's a beautiful story, man. Legit. And two things. One, I think I first found out about him probably Stats was the first song I heard.
Yeah.
And so I've been a fan ever since. That was probably like 2018. And I don't know what came up on Spotify to make him like a recommended song, but shout out to you and everyone else involved for that. Cause he's hard. Cause like even now old stuff will come up. I'm like, this was hard too. So But also as a fan of music, like my Spotify rap age is like 24, which is
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
15 years younger than I actually am. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like I'm always looking for like what's new, what's fresh. Like I'm not like a very nostalgic person, like as far as that. But I do notice that in generally non-derogatory, but like in that 30 age group, mid 30, upper 30, early 40, a lot of that is that's kind of like a comfort zone, or like there's kind of either what was hot back then, or they're kind of waiting to be fed what's new. But for you, you found these guys when you really and women when you really had no incentive, so it took your ear. Like what was it for Tim's and for King? Like what stood out for you?
Yeah, I think to be honest, man, I think that's one of my gifts, right? Like I think I have a gift in that way that I'm able to see things before, like clairvoyance, right? Like I'm able to see it before it can happen. And I've done that a bunch of different times in life in different capacities in different ways. I don't mean like see it like psychic, not like that. I mean like I have a vision of I could see something at a zero and see a vision of how we could go from 0 to 100. I could see the pathway in my head, and it's like, all right, if I do this and this and this and this, and then we do this, it'll lead to that. And I've done that a bunch of different times in life. So anytime I come across things like that or people like that in my story, I always stick close to them because I know, like, yo, you got the opportunity to do something great. You just need the pathway and the platform to help elevate you. So that's what I saw in people like Baby Keem or people like Thames and, other people that I've come across in my life where, I can see greatness in you. I don't know if you see it, I see it. But you just need X, Y, and Z to get to that place. And I know it'll be successful. And I think that's kind of, the gift I feel like I have that I could give to the world is I could see these things from the ground level. I don't think most people only see it when it's at the level it's at, right? Most people don't see something that's like nothing and then be like, man, this could be this. Like I could see this fucking building and be like, damn, you could turn this building into this. Like, you know what I mean? But if you're looking at it, it's just a building. It's just like, what? Like, nah, it's just this. But I'm able to see things in a different way, I feel like.
Yeah, that reminds me. Are you familiar with the Genius Zone at all? Like the book or the concept?
No, put me on.
So I'm trying to remember. It may be his name may be Gay Hendricks, the author, but it talks about like the different zones of like what people are good at. So there's like obviously like the zone of incompetence, which like this is not your gift. Zone of competence where you're about as good as everyone else. And there's like the zone of excellence where you're better at this thing than most people. And then there's the genius zone that like this is your thing. Like if you find this genius zone, you're going to be like top at least 10% of the people that can do this, and I'm oversimplifying it for the sake of, this medium, but
who'd you say created that? What was the person's name?
I think his name is Gay Hendricks, but I have the book with me, but I don't want to like get up and then, but I'll definitely send it to you after the fact.
All right, for sure.
But yeah, when I hear you talk about that, like I think about like, man, this dude is operating in his genius zone and he did what he had to do to get there. Like if you listen to producers like Pharrell, they have like the synesthesia, like he can see sounds, which allows him to create these like extraordinary, like exceptional beats, unlike anything anyone has heard. So like, it takes a lot of work to get there when it's not easy to find. You know what I mean? So salute to you for that. Would you say, for sure, would you say that was probably the most critical skill that you had that prepared you for each stage as you progressed?
I don't think it was the most critical. It definitely, I think it helped set me apart from a lot of people, but I think the most critical, bro, was not giving up, dog. Like my road was hard, bro. Like I don't say was, like it's still not, right? Like I guess I'm still chasing, right? Like I'm in a good space. Like I'm not content, right? And I'm in a good space, but I still got a long way to go for what I want to do and what I'm looking to accomplish. But with that being said, I think I've had a lot of different obstacles present itself in terms of trying to reach these levels and reach these heights. A lot of people would have given up, bro. A lot of people would have stopped the race. I just didn't stop, man. And I think that the visionary talent that I feel like I have wouldn't have meant nothing without the resolve to keep going. You know what I mean? To keep going. And I think that there are a lot of people with amazing gifts, genius level gifts, but you didn't get the chance to actually showcase it because you ain't keep going. You know what I mean? And I think to me, my story is just a testament to, you know, like they say, the war of attrition, right? Like the war of attrition is not necessarily like you won because you, like in a war, sometimes the person who wins is just the person who lasts the longest. It's not like I obliterated you, I did this, I did that. Like, nah, I just outlasted you, and you fell before I did because I outlasted you. And I think that's a testament to my story, man. And the biggest skill, or I don't call it a skill, but the biggest determining factor in me being able to go up, man, is I just never quit, bro. I took all my licks. I got mad. I got frustrated. I was like, man, this ain't fair. And then I dust myself off and get back and go again and go again. And, you know, like I said, I'm from Queens, man. I'm from where 50 Cent from. Like, we from the same, you know what I mean? And when he said get rich or die trying, I felt that. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, it's either we gonna get to these millions, or I'm gonna die trying to do it. And that's kind of the skill that I feel like, or not, I keep saying skill, I don't think it's a skill, but that's the biggest factor to me in my story, is just like perseverance.
For sure. I kind of want to highlight something that another thing that a lot of other people may not have done or may not have taken interest in, but even getting to where you were in your career in 2021, you led a campaign, got 18,500 signatures to repeal New York Section 50A law shielding police records. That's not typical music exec work. So what was it that drove you to take that on? Like, why was that so important to you? And like, when I saw that, and then hearing you talk earlier, that's kind of a callback to you having an interest in the community being important to you, and why politics is important to you. And I don't know if they're related, but it's definitely a connection I made.
Yeah, for sure. 2020 changed a lot for everybody, right? Like, the pandemic, obviously everyone's lives were different. Everybody's lives were changed. And in that, we were able to see different things as a community as a result of 2020. And I obviously, like, all the things that were happening with George Floyd and, all the iniquities that happened to Black people at the times, it felt like was magnified because we all ain't at work. We all just on social media looking at these things happening, right? And for me, the 50A law was something that I read about, and it was a hot topic, I guess, in New York state law, which were, it was the ability to shield police records from public view, right? Like, a lot of the police records wouldn't be able to be public. So any officers or firefighters or any city worker that comes up and has these things on their record, whether it's, abuse of power and all of these things, the only people that would be able to see it would be government officials. And I just felt like, yo, man, how can we progress, the relations between community and law enforcement if we're not able to even be transparent with these things that are happening between us? So there was a law that was in the state assembly titled 50A, to where it was going to repeal this, to where you have to make it public. And I felt like, man, that was something so important, man, that needed to be done. And while it's on the state assembly floor, my time in politics showed me that when you get the public to really rally around an outcome, they listen to you, right? Like, it's easy for people in politics to ignore you when it's not loud. It's quiet. Only a couple people care about this. So whatever, we could do what we want to do and it'll be what it's going to be. But I think when we get to a point where people are like, nah, it ain't just going to be like, nah, we got a real problem with this is when I start to see things change. So what I did, I started this, I was like, yo, I want to start a campaign to where they got this, I forget what site I used, but it was like, all you got to do is send a text and it'll automatically send a letter on your behalf to the state assemblyman who was the sponsor of the bill. So all you have to do is like send a text to the number, yo, text the number, and it'll automatically send it on your behalf. You just fill out your name and your address, and it'll send it a note, a letter to them. So I started the campaign like, yo, I explained, yo, this is important, blah, blah, blah. And I just went on social media. I put it on my Twitter, my Instagram, and it blew up. Like I didn't expect it. Like I didn't do it like thinking like, yo, this is about to go viral. I was just like, I got to do my part to do something because this is whack, man. Like, yo, I got to at least do my part. But it actually started to go viral, man. Like when I tweeted it, it went like it was people from all over. Like it was thousands of people shooting notes, text messages to the point that the assemblyman's inbox, it broke the inbox. It was too many people just hitting it that the inbox got so flooded and crazy. And it became a big deal and a big issue, man. So I'm just grateful that, you know, people cared enough to rally around, you know, a cause that I felt like was very important towards helping relations between, you know, cops and community. And, you know, that moment was definitely special for me, man, because, you know, like I said, ultimately, like I could do all these things for self, which is cool. And I'm going to do that too. But I feel like just me personally, I feel like, you know, you can't just do for self and not do for community. You know what I mean? So I was happy that it went viral and it took on a life and, you know, Billboard recognized me for that, man. And I'm grateful for that, man. So shout out to Billboard.
Definitely. Shout out to you too for, you know, doing what you had to do or doing what you chose to do because, you know, it's one thing, like you said, we were all online, we were in the house, but it's another thing to like actually highlight that and make change. So it's easy to complain. It's hard to make change. It's hard to facilitate change. You feel me?
Oh, for sure.
So you also have your own label, 24/8 Music Group. What made you want to start that outside of what you was already doing?
So when I signed a couple artists that blew up, I realized the amount of money that was being made. And I'm like, you know, me doing this for the company is one thing, which is cool. You know, that's my job. But ultimately, if I'm going to get in a place to where I'm able to sustain myself, and a lot of the millions of dollars that are being dispersed come my way, you got to own it. You got to own it. And when I say own it, I don't necessarily mean like in a Suge Knight kind of way, like I own you, I own your masters, not like that. I mean, I have a piece of equity in your business, right? Like if we're looking at ourselves as businessmen, like an artist is the business, right? You're not just an artist, you're a business. And for me and, you know, the resources I bring and the help that I can provide to your infrastructure, I would like a piece of your business, right? Like, you know, you give me equity in your business and in turn, I'll give you all of these things. And, you know, that was important for me because it helps me shape the understanding of what an actual business model is supposed to look like when you elevate. You know what I'm saying? Like Jay-Z, my favorite rapper, like Hove, you know what I'm saying? He has a line on a 444 album where he used to say, he said, I used to say, fuck you, pay me. Now it's fuck paying me, I pay you. And I resonate with that, right? Because the attitude where it was like, fuck you, pay me is just like, that's you understanding your level of talent, right? Like, forget you, pay me, right? Like I bring these to the table. I bring these things, this skill set, I bring this, pay me for that. But then it became, you know, forget paying me, I'm going to pay you, right? And that's the maturation into a boss mentality to where like, all right, cool, I'm not just a talent, but I'm an owner, right? I'm an owner. So now I get the money and I can pay you out for, you know, your services. And that's kind of, just where I was, is that was me from a business mind maturing from just somebody that can bring in talent and do these things to me, just wanting to level up my business and infrastructure.
Yeah. And then in 2023, 24/8 entered a partnership with The Orchard that's dedicated to developing hip hop and R&B artists. Oh, what made that partnership happen, and what is the mission behind that partnership?
Well, the partnership, man, it happened because like I said, is once I did a bunch of things at the company. I told them like, yo, I don't want to just be a worker, man. I would like to be partners. Like, I don't want to just be like, I'm cool working here, but I want to be partners in these things that I'm bringing, because I understand the value of what I bring, and I understand your value as a company, right? Like, we both have value in order for these things to succeed. And in that situation, I just felt like I wanted to graduate our business relationship to being partners and not just like worker. So with that, man, my mentality and my mission with 24/8 was I wanted to take talent and mature the talent and grow the talent out to be world level. So I guess it starts with music, right? Like, that was the inception of it. But it doesn't end with music, right? Like 24/8 for me, in my scope, in my purview, 24/8 isn't just about music. It's about creatives, man. It's about people that are dope, man. 24/8. And what 24/8 means is, one is Kobe Bryant was my favorite basketball player. So, that's the graduation from, number 8 Kobe with the afro, to where it was like, I'm gonna go drop my points. It's all about me. Like, I gotta do this. I don't know. Did I cut out? Number eight Kobe versus number 24 Kobe, which was the more mature version of Kobe, and him understanding like it takes a team to really do all of these things. And it's just a metaphor for that. And everybody go 24/7, I'm going 24/8, right? Like, I'm going to grind harder than you. That's so it's a metaphor of just grinding. And I think with that, man, like, my goal with 24/8 is just to really put the overgrind in for people that I feel like have the ability to impact whatever field they're doing. So it's not just music, it's sports, it's culture, it's creative. And I'm working on building that out right now.
It's very dope. What are you most proud of, like, out of everything that you've done in music so far up to this point? What makes you the most proud?
I got my little brother a job at Sony. That makes me proud to be like how like I told you, my mom got me a job at the district attorney's office. I got my little brother a job at Sony. And I think that Black nepotism is important, man. And when I say nepotism, I don't just mean it from a place of being unqualified and getting a job. I mean that to actually get in a lot of these places, it takes knowing somebody to usher you into the door. You know what I mean? And I just say my little brother, but I've ushered a lot of other people into the door behind me. And, I'm not going to call everybody out by name, but I mentioned my brother because, it's my brother. Like, you know what I mean? But I think that's, to me, the thing I'm most proud of is that if you get in position, who else did you put in position? Like, that to me that's what's dope. Like it's cool for you to just like, all right, I did all of this, I did this. Like, all right, cool. But like, did you put anybody else on too? Like, to me, that's the boss is like, you're a real boss when like, all right, I did this for myself and I put this together. I did this. And that for me was meaningful, bro. Like, that I feel like I opened the door for the next people to also get in and start their journey to blossom in their own way. And I tell everybody I put through the door, I'm putting you through this door. Make sure when you get to where you want to go that you put the next person through their door. And that's how I feel like this thing's supposed to work and go, is like, you get on and do your thing and then pull somebody else in. You know what I mean? I'm most proud of that, man.
For sure. Now, I kind of want to pivot to how I got to know you, Cigar Talk, and you kind of explained some of a good amount of like why you started it. And so I was looking at like your first few videos. The first one that I saw was like way back in 2012, which was Joe Budden performing mood music at Irving Plaza. And then I also saw that the first video that was labeled as an interview was with Violetta Wallace, which is Biggie's mom. What made you, I guess, like throughout that process, I know that you wanted to use it as sort of a resume. What was the interviewing part of that like? Like how did you like, I'm sure you made these connections just talking to you. Like I know you had these connections that you made outside of it, but what made you decide like this is going to be the way, like in terms of interviewing and just highlighting artists? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so those original videos, when I got on this channel, like I said, I was blogging for Rap Radar, and those videos, I didn't make those videos. So originally this YouTube, it had maybe 1,000 subscribers at the time. It had 1,000 subscribers. My boy B-Dot created the YouTube for Rap Radar, but they did a deal with CBS, so they didn't end up using it. I think he maybe have put up maybe like 3 or 4 videos, and then the page was just dormant. So when I jumped on, I told him, I'm like, yo, man, like, y'all don't use this page. Instead of me starting my own page, let me use this page or whatever. And he was like, all right, cool. Like the page is just lying around. Nobody's using it. So those super early videos with, like you said, Violetta Wallace and Joe Budden, my boy B-Dot posted those. So, but I just left it up because, he was documenting culture and I just want people to see like, this is where the page came from. So I didn't actually jump on the page. I think my first video on the page was maybe like 2016, maybe 2017, something like that. My first video, but I think there was maybe like a good 5 or 6 videos that predate me. Like I wasn't there, but my boy just gave me the page, and I kind of just turned it into my own.
It makes sense. Now, as far as the boxing part of it, was boxing something that you had always been interested in, or was that something that you took interest in and decided to expand?
I've always been interested in boxing, man, since a kid. Like I thought boxing was like, I remember my pops had showed me the Ali versus Foreman fight. That was the first fight I ever seen as a kid. And I just remember thinking and him telling me about it and hearing the announcers where it was like, it's this big killer, George Foreman. This guy's gonna kill Muhammad Ali. But he just had this unwavering confidence, like, I'm gonna beat him. And nobody's believing him. It's like, yeah, right. Like, this guy's a killer. You can't beat him. But he talked it and he walked it. And that just inspired me to a different place, man. And, from there, I loved boxing, bro. I dived into everything boxing. So I always loved the sport. I always loved the fight game. And I always said, like, I always wanted to do boxing also, but boxing wasn't like hip hop was around me, right? Like hip hop is where you step outside my block, you open the door to my block, somebody outside with a radio or like, you know what I'm saying? It's hip hop all around. Boxing, you have to go find it it wasn't like it was just around, you know what I mean? So, but I always said I wanted to like either work in hip hop or boxing, but yeah, man, it's always been a large part of my story. And I think that I did what I did in music, from a podcast standpoint. And I told you, like, the reason I actually did it was to get a job. I didn't do it because I wanted to be a podcaster or, I want to interview rappers. Like, I didn't do it for that. I did it because I was trying to, like, it was a mission. It was a goal. And I think once I achieved that goal, I started wanting to chase my passion, right? Like, I'm like, all right, cool. I built up this page. I got a couple of, 100,000 subscribers, and, I want to do something I'm passionate about. And I think at the time, hip hop podcasting started getting oversaturated. Everybody got a hip hop podcast. You know what I mean? It's hard to get guests. Like, I don't know. it was just the podcast world was shifting, and I felt like, man, this is a great time to pivot to the thing that I love and my passion, that I want to talk about, at least from a media standpoint, is boxing, man. That's my passion. You know, one of my passions. I pivoted from interviewing rappers. I feel like I achieved my goal. I did a lot. You know, we made a lot of moves happen, and you know, it was time for a rebrand.
Yeah. Did you network with the boxers the same way you would network with the artists, like in music? Was it a similar journey there, or did you have to approach boxing differently when you started to get some of these guests?
Nah, bro, same hustle, just a different strip. Same hustle, bro. Yeah. I did the same exact thing I did over there. Like, I would go to boxing events when I could hear about a boxing event. I met different people, you know what I mean? I met people just being outside, like hitting the ground. Ultimately, again, it's just funny how stuff works, man. You never see it in the moment, but later on, you'd be like, damn, how certain stuff impacted your life or your journey. I was, so I knew people from music. Rock Nation Sports had just happened, right? Like, they just announced Rock Nation is jumping into sports, right? So it's a big, Jay-Z's jumping into sports? What? Oh my God. Like, it's a whole thing. The guy who's the president of Rock Nation Sports, his name is Juan Perez. I met Juan, OG Juan. Everybody call him OG Juan. I met Juan at an event at the 4040 one night. And, you know, I'm just a young kid at the time talking shit like, yo, man, if y'all want to do good in boxing, you need to come see me, man. I'm telling you. So I'm just talking. He's just like, who the hell is this guy? Like, you don't know me, but I'm just talking. I'm from New York, so I'm talking shit. Like, and he's just like, he kind of looking at me like, what? And then he was like, all right, so if you was to sign somebody from Rock Nation, who would you sign? And I told him, I was like, yo, y'all need to sign Andre Ward. This is right when Andre Ward got out of he was having contract problems, and he was right at that point. And I was like, yo, y'all need to go sign Andre Ward, bro. I'm telling you, like, this guy, I'm like, Ward is the man. And I feel like with the right resources, he could start to sell and blah, blah, blah. And when I said it, he looked at me and he was like, interested. And he was like, all right, give me your email. So I was like, all right, cool. What I didn't know at the time was they had already just done a deal with Andre Ward, but they didn't announce it yet. They didn't announce it. I didn't know that. Nobody knew it. I mean, he knew it, but I guess the fact that I was thinking the way the moves that they made, he was like, oh shit, like, damn, maybe this kid know a little something. You know what I mean? So he gave me his email. So I was emailing him every day until one day he was like, I was like, yo, man, let me come to the office. And he let me come to the office, and I just never left, bro. I would come to the office, like, I overstayed my welcome. Like, I would just be coming to the office all the time, like, yo, what's up? What y'all need over here? Yo, I get some coffee, like, yo, what y'all need, man? You know what I mean? And I'm just trying to understand the lay of the land, what they doing, how I can help, where's the gaps I can bridge. You know, one day I was in his office, like, that's how I met Jay. I met Jay being at the office, like, it was me, Juan, and Jay. You know, Jay came into the office. I'm talking to Jay, like, you know, it's crazy, like surreal shit. I had this guy poster on my wall, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? But one day we in the office and I told Juan, and I'm like, yo, let me work here, man. Let me get a job here. I'm telling you, I could help. And he's like, you want a job? Find me somebody I could sign, and then I'll give you a job. You find me a good boxer that makes sense, and then I'll give you a job. Now, this is like 2015, maybe. Now, at this time, like I said, this is the point where I'm just hustling. And I'm broke right now, bro. I got enough money just to make ends meet, bro. Like, that's it. Like, I don't got no money like that. You know what I mean? And when he said that, I was like, all right, this is my mission. I gotta find somebody. So I started going to all the amateur boxing tournaments. Every amateur boxing tournament that was anywhere near me, I was there. And like I said, all I had was a car. I had enough money to like pay my phone bill and to pay my car note. That's it. I didn't have no money, bro. So I was like, all right. I was going to tournaments, and the people that I seen that I thought were really good was Shakur Stevenson, Jerron Boots Ennis, and Richardson Hitchens. Those were the three guys that I gravitated to. And, you know, I reached out to them, and I was over there capping like, yo, listen, I work with Rock Nation. Yo, listen, You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying anything to bring them to the office so that I could like try to put some shit together. You feel me? And Shakur Stevenson, he was the first person that like I met and I talked to him and I was like, yo, I'm with Rock Nation and you know, yo, they want to sign you. And they didn't, I'm just saying this shit because I'm like, if I just put him in the office, they're gonna understand. Like they both gonna see the vision and we're gonna make it happen. So Shakur, he told me, he was like, yo, if you want to sign me, he's like, yo, come to Virginia. I'm in Virginia, come pull up. So I was like, all right, bet. I drove to Virginia, bro. Like I said, I didn't even have no money for flights. Like I drove to Virginia. I think I slept in my car like one night because it was too expensive to be in a hotel for like the whole time. I don't even know if he know that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was there for like 5 days. I think I only had like 2 nights of hotel money. I slept in my car for 3 nights. 2 nights I got a hotel, take some showers and shit. But I was there with him in the gym. And I was just talking to him and I was just watching him spar. And he's a kid at this time. He's maybe like 16 years old, 16, 17. And I'm the same how I told you I seen Baby Keem. This is what I saw when I looked at this guy. I'm like, this kid is different. Like he has a different level of talent. And, you know, I told him that. So I was trying to put the Rock Nation thing together. Anyway, long story short, I went to Rock Nation and the person who was like the head of it, not Juan, there was another guy he had like in charge of operations. He was like, nah, Shakur's too small. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, yo, bro, this guy's gonna be a world champion. I'm telling you, like, yo, what? And he's just like, ah. And he didn't get it. He didn't see the vision. He was like, nah. So nothing ever happened. But ultimately, I tell the story because later down the line, when I'm doing Cigar Talk, how I switched to boxing, like I said, is I started having these thoughts like, yo, I want to switch to boxing, but I don't know where to start. Like, how am I just going to jump in boxing? Reaches out to me one day. He DMs me. I did an interview with, there's a rapper, Finesse 2 Times, and he had just got out of jail. He's like one of the hottest things out. So I had him on my show. It kind of went like viral. And Shakur reaches out to me. Now, mind you, I haven't talked to this kid in years. This is maybe like 7 years later. I haven't spoke to him. You know, I left it at that. The Rock Nation shit didn't work, whatever. I'm just watching his career from afar, right? Like as a fan, but you know, that was it. He reaches out to me one day like, yo, I just seen your interview with Finesse 2 Times. You the guy that came to Virginia from Rock Nation, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yo, that's crazy. Like, I remember, he's like, I seen this interview and I remembered you like, oh shit, this the guy from Rock Nation back in the day. And he was like, yo, could I get on your show? And I was like, hell yeah. And that was the first boxing interview I did. And it had went like viral. Like he said a bunch of stuff about Floyd and like it did a whole lot of numbers. Like the boxing community really embraced it. And from there was when like I did that interview and then other boxers just started reaching out to me because they saw that and it just kind of created a chain reaction. So I just tell you that story to show you how crazy it is. That's like one moment it was like years ago, I'm trying to sign him and do this and it didn't work. And I'm like, damn, man, like another failed opportunity. Just till later, he turned out to be the person that literally transitioned me into the boxing game.
Yeah. Like you said, sometimes it takes years.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. I actually, the very first time I ever trained boxing, actually, I have a mutual friend who trained out of that same gym. And so I trained, yeah. And so I actually saw him and Richardson sparring my very first time in the gym. Like his old coach was like, I think he was like, you want to spar? This very first time, like all I'm doing is throwing jabs. They're like, yeah, stand over there and just throw step forward jab. And you want to spar? I'm like, no. He just came back from the, he just won a silver medal. I do want that bump now though. If I get 3 rounds, like if he somehow hears this, I need it just to see. Just for data, research and development, you feel me? But no, I mean, even back then, you know, obviously he was validated because he's a silver medalist, but like I could see what you see, you know, then. So you saw it early. So salute to you for that, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
But, you know, you named some of the names that you talked to. You spoke with 50 Cent, Nick Cannon, Terrence Crawford, even Bob Arum. You talk to the music tank. You talk to the boxing tank.
Yeah.
Like at this point, what's your approach to getting artists and fighters to open up in ways they don't in typical press interviews? Because like I mentioned it before, you know, at the beginning, but like when I see like I'm a big interview person, both to improve my craft, but also to see how people are thinking, you know, because when they have a narrative of someone, like it's often something that person has addressed in an interview. So how do you get them to open up? Because I really only see boxers if they're on Andre Ward or Sean Porter's part, like, and yours, like that's really the most open that I see them, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think one is I actually try to do like real research, man. Like, you know, I spend time researching, trying to like develop good questions that they haven't been asked before. So my research consists of I watch all their other interviews to see, you know, what was the stuff they were talking about. I don't want to like, it gets boring for any talent that, you know, you do interviews over and over and they ask you the same questions over and over and over, the same thing. It's like, it's kind of, you know, it gets boring. So I think one is when you are able to ask them maybe things that they haven't been asked before, it's like, oh, okay, they're more engaged. It's a little different. But two, I think in this clickbait generation, I try to balance the need for like headlines and trying to make a clickbaity moment with just being a human and being personable and being like, yo, we, you know, most of the fighters I interview, we come from the same place, right? Like maybe not the same city, but the same environments all over, right? So we kind of speak the same language. And I think when I'm able to really speak to them in that way, it don't feel like an interview. I think a lot of times, you know, I'll do interviews with different people and they're like, they'll tell me at the end, like, damn, I didn't even feel like an interview. We was just talking, like, you know what I mean? And I guess that's the vibe I try to create and give off is it's less like question, answer, and more like, man, let's just have a dialogue about your life and your journey and where things are at. So I don't know. I feel fortunate that I feel like I've had some really great moments, some dope moments, and you know, I feel like I've been able to get some talent to open up to me in ways that they might not have with other platforms.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember when you did the Tank interview, Tank wasn't even talking to people at that point. Tank seemed like he was just over it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That one specifically, like, you know, again, is I feel like I asked some questions that the regular boxing media wouldn't ask, right? Like we talked about his time in jail. Like you're a big superstar boxer in jail, right? Like, and people know how jail is. Like, you know, somebody gonna try you. Somebody, you know, is so like, you know, what is that? Like we talked about his journey to Islam, right? Like him becoming a Muslim. And I think we just talked about things that are outside the scope of like, so who's your next fight or whatever, like, you know what I mean? So I think I try to tap into him as a human, also outside of just the boxer.
Yeah. You also recently had the opportunity to host your first press conference with, I think that was your first with Clarissa Shields, Franchon Cruz Dezern. How did that opportunity come about and what was that like?
Man, that was beautiful, man. I was so happy. That was like, you know, that was a moment for me because that's something I want to do, man. I really want to be, I'm looking to be a voice in the sport of boxing. You know, somebody that people could point to that, you know, listen, man, at the end of the day, it's a fight, right? Like there are nuances to the sport of boxing and like the real hardcore people know, but like a fight is an event, right? Like this is predates us. Like, you know, Frank Lucas coming to the fight with the fur on, like it's a whole thing. And I love being a part of that type of energy, man. So I think to operate in this capacity where I was able to host a press conference for the biggest women's fighter in the world, is Clarissa Shields. That was a great experience. So thank you to Clarissa and Franchon. You know, her promoter, Dimitri Salita, shout out to Salita Promotions. I interviewed him before and he liked my interview style a lot. And he always said, yo, man, like, I want to stay in touch with you and blah, blah, blah. So when this kind of came about, you know, we were talking and it was like, yo, actually, maybe you would be good for this. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And man, it was a great experience. I learned a lot. It was my first one, you know what I mean? I thought I did pretty good, but, you know, there's always ways to get better, you know what I mean? So I'll be better in my next one. But it was a great experience. I had a great time doing it. And yeah, man, I look forward to doing more of those things and really becoming a voice in the sport of boxing.
Definitely. What is your overall presence in boxing right now? Like, I see you do the interviews. You're in a hosting bag now. Like, is there anything that the public doesn't see?
Yes, there is. I can't say too much right now, because I can't. It's a little soon. Um, but I'm like, man, I wish I could say, like, I'm trying to roll stuff out the right way. But put it like this, man. Like I said, I'm also interested in the business of boxing, right? Like the same way that I enterprised myself in music, I'm doing the same in boxing. So I have a bunch of things in the business of boxing that I'm doing behind the scenes. Like I said, I can't speak too much on it. Next year, 2026, I'll definitely like make some announcements and let people know everything that's going on. But media is not the only position that I'm looking to occupy in the sport of boxing, man. So I'm over here now, man. Like I said, I'm inspired by Al Heyman. Al Heyman, he was a big music guy, promoted for the likes of Beyonce, Michael Jackson. Like this guy, made that transition from music to boxing in a successful way. And there are a bunch of other people who've done the same. And I'm looking to be a part of that next generation, man. Like, the next generation of the Al Heymans, to where I can come in and enterprise this sport in a way that is a little different than the predecessors. But yes, I got a lot of things in the works in the business of boxing that I'm currently working on and doing. And once a lot of these things are finalized and right, I'll definitely make some announcements and talk about it.
2026, we up. We staying
Yeah,
tuned.
man. Yeah, man.
I do want to ask, since I know now that you have this business mind in boxing and you're expanding. Do you have any thoughts or feelings about the direction that boxing is going in? Because, and just to give the listeners who aren't really tapped in a very simplified lay of the land, historically, I guess 2010s, a lot of the fights that people wanted to see were not being made. There was this whole side of the street thing with Top Rank, PBC, Golden Boy, so on and so forth. Turkey Al-Sheikh out of Saudi Arabia has recently taken a strong interest in boxing. There has been a lot of good fights recently, but also Dana White and TKO is now getting into boxing. There are some legal implications with that, regarding the Ali Act. And so there is some fear from boxing purists of the direction that boxing is going in, although boxing has been broken for some time. Do you have any thoughts or feelings on that, or are you just navigating it the best you can?
Yeah, man. I think, a part of what I love about boxing, man, it's a jungle, bro. This the Wild Wild West. This is, like I keep quoting Jay-Z, man, show them how to move in a room full of vultures. Like this is that. This is what you have to do here. So with that being said, man, in the jungle, it's a constant evolution. The way the jungle works is you have to adapt or die. That's it. That's what this sport is. So there'll constantly be evolution here, and you have to figure out what the evolution is and how you can play a part in that, right? Until you're big enough to control the evolution, right? Like guys like Turkey and Dana White are controlling the evolution of the sport, right? Until you're big enough to do that, you got to operate within the bounds of what is happening and, understand it. So for me, I like where it's heading, bro. I like it. I think that it's going to shake up. It's going to shake up the sport to where a lot of these fights and a lot of these, and I know a lot of people are concerned about what's happening with TKO, with, the Muhammad Ali Act being restructured, right? Like, I think the TKO business model is somewhat of the model like UFC, where they don't necessarily disclose their financials, right? Like they're going to give you a set payment, like this is your payment, and, take it or leave it. What I do think, is that a good model? I think it depends who you are. You know what I mean? I do think I like the idea of being able to have the option that if you want to do that, you can. If you want to do the traditional route, you can, right? Like I don't think I like it being added to the mix, because when there's competition, it forces everyone else to elevate. Like when there's no competition, you could just do what you want to do. And I'm saying that for the sanctioning bodies, WBC, WBO, WBA, IBF, right? Like these sanctioning bodies that are supposed to be ordering the best fights and putting on these, fights and doing these things. I think a lot of times get comfortable because, we're the only guys in town. Y'all got to do what we say. But now that somebody else is in town that's threatening your position, you don't have the luxury anymore to necessarily just do it the way that you were previously operating. So I think the shakeup is good. I think Turki Al-Sheikh, money makes the world go round, bro. So this guy is able, he's backed by the Saudi Arabia government, right? Like this, we talking billions. Like, so it's, at the end of the day, a fight is going to happen. If you give two fighters, these fighters are fighters, bro. Fighters, people be like, yo, you ducking. Fighters don't duck nothing, man. They're fighters, bro. They'll fight anybody, especially for the right amount of money. And I think that's what Turki's been able to provide is like, yo, I'm going to put enough money to where politics don't matter because I need this bag. I got to go get this 10 million. So I don't care about politics. I don't care about these belts. I don't care about, my manager saying, let's fight somebody. Nah, it's 10 million. I got to go get that 10. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're seeing that's happening is, he's spending an exuberant amount of money to make these fights happen. I like it. I think boxing's in a good place. I like even what's happening with Jake Paul, and I don't think it waters down the sport. I think I make a differentiation, right? Like there's a difference between Jake Paul and like the other guys. There's a difference. Even though I do think he's been committed to the sport, I think he's training. I can see him getting better. I think he's going to get killed tonight against Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua's going to punch his head off. But I think that what he's doing, it shows that the marketing paradigm of boxing has shifted. You don't have to be the best, right? The best doesn't equal the most money. The best doesn't equal like, yo, everyone's coming to see you because you're the best. He's just found a way to galvanize his fans and take his existing fan base and translate it to where they want to come see you fight. And I think that's where the sport is heading, right? Like, how do you market yourself in a way where people want to see you fight? It ain't just about, some people's marketing is, I'm the best. This is why you should see me. That's not Jake Paul's marketing strategy. He's not marketing, I'm the best, so see me. That's not why you're seeing Jake Paul, right? You're not seeing him because you think he's the best fighter. So I like where the sport is heading. I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think the casual fan base is tuned in a lot more than they have been over the last few years. And I think the sport is going to continue progressing in ways that are able to open up doors to make more money ultimately.
Yeah, for sure. So zooming out a little bit, trying to land this plane for you, but what are you most proud of in your career overall? Like when you look back so far, I know you have a lot you want to do, but what are you most proud of so far?
I don't know. I don't really think about that at this point because I'm so just like, let's move forward. You know what I mean? I don't really think about the past too much, but I would say now, if I'm thinking about it, what I'm most proud of is I've just been able to build my own thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's not an easy thing to do, man. Like I've been able to build my own business with Cigar Talk that generates revenue, and I have employees, I have people that I pay out also. You know what I mean? So I'm proud that I was able to start something from the ground and execute the vision of what I sing. You know what I mean? I think there's still a long way to go. Like I said, I mean, I still have a lot of things I want to do, a lot of things I'm looking to do. But the fact that I was able to build a brand that is respected in the space and conquer two different arenas, I'm proud of that, man. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the resolve to really be a staple and be a voice for things that I care about.
I respect that. I got a few quick hitters before we go. First of all, do you have a pound for pound list? And if so, who would you say is your top, however, whatever number, 5, if you want to go 5?
Yeah. Terrence Crawford just announced his retirement, so I don't know, should I take him off yet or what? Like, I don't know, but I had Terrence as my number 1 pound for pound, bro. I think what he's done is unprecedented. 35, 135 pounds to 168 pounds, winning titles in between, beating Canelo, beating Errol Spence, dominating 147. Every person that he fought at 147 got stopped. Not just you lost, you got stopped. That's different. That's like a different level. Obviously undisputed 3 times. Terrence Crawford is my number 1. Number 2, Alexander Usyk. I get a lot of flack. People think I hate on Usyk on social media. You know what I'm saying? I think I've been critical of not necessarily him, but just the place that he's being held in the all-time grand scheme of heavyweights. I do think he is a great fighter. I do think to compare yourself to the long list of great heavyweights, I just feel like I want to see a little more. When we're talking about guys like, Muhammad Ali and Joe Louis, George Foreman, I think there's such an enriched history that I think he has more to do at heavyweight first before I can put him in the conversation with those guys. But I think he is a great in any era. I think he would be a tough challenge for everybody in every era. But beating Fury twice, beating Anthony Joshua, Dubois, gotta respect it. So Usyk's my number 2. And Naoya Inoue, the monster, the Japanese monster. That's my boy. I like him. Number 3. He got knocked down 2 times, but every time he gets knocked down, he comes back strong. That boy is a monster, man. He a little dude, but he fight like a man. He got a nasty streak about him. He ain't just I met him. I interviewed him. Seemed like a nice guy. He don't speak much English, so we just going back and forth with translation. But it's like, if you know the Japanese culture, I've been in Japan. They're very humble. They're very meek. They're very you know what I mean, soft spoken. But in the ring, he's nasty. He don't fight like Japanese. You know what I'm saying? He fights like a nasty guy. And I love him, man. So that's number 3. My number 4 right now, Dimitri Bivol. I think Bivol, great fighter, great footwork. I love that Soviet style, the long guard. He's long, but he's fast. He got footwork, but he counters. Great IQ. He knows how to maneuver in the ring. Obviously, beat Canelo. I thought he beat Better Biev that first fight, too. I thought he got, I don't want to say robbed. Robbed's a strong word. I definitely think he should have got the nod, though, for sure. I thought it was a pretty clear decision. But, man, Dimitri Bivol, like I said, man, this guy handled Better Biev, Russian monster, beat Canelo, beat John Pascal, beat Lyndon Arthur. This guy, he's got a pretty good resume of guys that he beat. And his skill set is unbelievable. So Bivol. And then my number 5, I would say Bam Rodriguez, man. Jesse Bam Rodriguez. I think that kid, man, that boy got footwork out there. He got the next level Lomachenko kind of footwork. You know what I mean? His feet are super fast, angles crazy, a lot of power. I like to say, man, he a new age Mexican. Everybody think when you think Mexican style, people just think rock'em sock'em, come forward and punch your head off. Nah, this guy is the Mexican with the sazon on it. He's a different kind of Mexican. This guy, you know what I'm saying? Bam, Bam is different, bro. He still got the Mexican cojones, but he fighting with smarts, with IQ, with style, with grace, with power. And he's beating guys like Carlos Cuadras. You know what I'm saying? He's got a good Estrada. He's beating a lot of good fighters. And I know, the lower weights tend to get hated on because people don't know the level of talent or know the name. So they equate names with talent. But I think Bam's beat a lot of talented guys at the lower weight classes. So yeah, that's my top.
Yeah, that's a solid list. And as a southpaw myself, I'm a little biased towards Bam, but he's a cheat code, bro. When I saw him fight Rungvisai, I was like, okay, he's one of the ones. I was like, sure. I can't put him in my list because it's soon. It's too soon right now. But he's gonna be one of the ones. And now he's like,
on your list?
Man, I would say mine is similar to yours. I would say I would actually not change that top 5. The only not to Bivol is he just hasn't done it as in many weight classes as the other guys.
Yep.
But I would say it's pretty close. So I would pretty much keep that. But since although Buzz retired but hasn't officially vacated the belts, I'm gonna come up with another one. I think that Shakur will have a strong case if he handles business in January. Yep. This would be 26, 30, 35, 40. This would be a fourth division for Shakur. I think Haney actually has a strong case. Say what you want about the welterweight division now, but to go from undisputed at 35, get a belt at 40, go up to 47 and fight the guy, no tune-up at 47. Like, I think that's, as far as managing your career and as far as maximizing your talent, like self-actualization as a boxer and as a businessman, like, if you throwing business in it, he could be near the top, damn near, you know? People don't like him for whatever reason, but especially as a black man, I'm like, how could you be mad at someone who wants to fight the best and is making the best of his career doing so? Like, he's in control of his career. No one else is doing that right now.
Absolutely.
So I would mostly keep your list, but then give those guys honorable mention because of where they are. I think that depending on where, I'll be interested to see what Nakatani does because we're talking about some unification. Yeah. So,
but 6 we're supposed to see Inoue and Nakatani.
Yes, I'm very curious to that, but he deserves honorable mention as well. Who will be your fight of the year for 2025?
2025 fight of the year. I gotta give it to Bud, man. I mean, it's just, you know, it was a good fight. I mean, I feel like I've seen better fights than that. It was a good fight. Not saying that. I think there's been more action-packed fights, but it was just like the magnitude of the moment, what he did jumping up, no rehydration clause. He also stood in there and fought him too at points, right? It wasn't just like, yo, I boxed this guy for 12 rounds and like there was definitely a lot of moments where he got in there and mixed it up with Canelo, the bigger guy. Like even there was times where he was tying him up and clinching him, and I was like, damn, Bud looks stronger than him. Like this is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Canelo hit him with a couple of shots that Bud took it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta give it to Bud. I just think that's a crazy accomplishment, crazy feat. 168 undisputed, like come on, man.
For the magnitude of it, I would definitely say that was one of the ones. Better Bivol 2 was probably my that was just high level chess match.
Yeah, that was great.
I will put that over, but only because there was a certain point in the Bud Canelo where I was like, okay, I know who the winner is. It's just a matter of what the judge is going to do. But all 12 rounds of Bivol, I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't know one of them was going to, because they both have knockout power. Bivol don't have the knockouts, but he has knockout power.
Yeah.
So it was just like high level chess match. Shout out to Eubank and Ben though, the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The first one. I like that. I mean, that was a great fight as well. You know what I'm saying? I feel like for me, the only thing is just the rehydration makes it a little, because it's, I really think the rehydration played a factor, even in the first one, even though Eubank won. I think that played a factor in the fight. I was actually at the second fight. I went out to London for the second one. And that was a good fight as well. But the rehydration played a factor, but I'm not mad at you with that Bivol better be. That was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
What do you want to see in 2026?
Man, Boots and Virgil Ortiz, man, what's up? We need that. We need that. We need that fight, bro. Like, that's the one. That's the one right there. You know what I'm saying? We already getting Tio Shakur, which is a great matchup to me out of everybody in the Four Kings era. I mean, Shakur wasn't technically in the Four Kings when they announced it, but I think that this is probably the most competitive fight that we've seen from those guys, where this is prime for prime, right? It's not like, in respect to Devin Haney, because he fought Lomachenko, and he's been wanting to fight Tio. Tio hasn't wanted to fight him for whatever reason. But he fought Lomachenko. That was, Lomachenko was more towards the end of his career. I don't think that was prime Loma, because I think prime Loma was more at like 130 pounds. And again, that's no slight to Devin. He's shown that he'll fight anybody. So I'm just saying I think that Shakur and Tio are two of they're at both of their peaks. Like this is peak versus peak. Who wins? And we haven't really got to see that. Maybe Javante Ryan, I guess, if you kind of count that, maybe. But I feel like we haven't got a chance to really see that. So man, I'm excited for that fight. Like I said, Boots and Virgil, we need that. And then Inoue and Nakatani, man. Who's the man for Japan, man? We need to know.
Yeah. I would my list is probably the same, honestly. I feel like it's I don't have it right now, but it's definitely some more bump at 154 that got to go down too. Like I want to see Murtazalia back in there with somebody,
I like him. B Murder. That's what I call him. B Murder. That boy's bad. He did Tim Zoo dirty.
He did.
That boy did Tim Zoo dirty. I definitely want to see Baccarat back in the ring too. I like Fundora a lot as well. I was hoping that Keith Thurman fight would have happened. I like Sebastian Fundora a lot as well. So yeah, 154 got a lot of smoke, man. A lot of smoke.
For sure. A few more questions. One, I know that you can't share too much, but if you were to give the audience a what's next, like this is what's next for Najee, what do you say is coming up in 2026 at a high level and beyond?
I would say that Cigar Talk is bigger than media. I think everyone currently knows me as the podcast guy, which cool. I take that. That's what I've shown you. But what I'm building with this brand is not just a media brand. It's not just a podcast. It's bigger than that. It's all encompassing of things, you know what I'm saying, in this fight game and culture. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of other things in the business world of boxing that I'll be revealing soon. But again, I think when it's all said and done, people are not going to look at me as the podcast guy. It'll be like, damn, this guy used the podcast to jump in the game and then did, whatever. So yeah, man, I think you got to get in the game first, and then you make your mark. So the podcast is what I used to get in the game, and now I'm looking to make my mark.
Respect. Is there anything else that you want to leave with the audience? Like at the end of my interviews, I like to give someone the space to just like open-ended share whatever may be on your heart that you think people can benefit from, or just something you talk your shit, whatever you want to get off your chest, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thank you, man, for the opportunity. Thank you for the platform. This was a great interview, very in-depth interview, man. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I pop my shit a little bit. Cigar Talk, man. Make sure y'all tune in, man. Hottest in the boxing space, man. Hottest podcast in boxing. Cigar Talk. Check me out, man. I've interviewed all the biggest fighters: Terrence Crawford, Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, Canelo Alvarez. Check me out. But overall, man, I just want to leave people with this. Everyone's chasing something. Everybody. We're all chasing something. And whatever it is that you're chasing, I know it's like cliche, like you could do anything, but like literally my life is a testament to you can do what you want to do if you put the amount of work in. So I just want to share my story so that maybe it inspires somebody else to keep going with their story and do what they got to do. And like I said, if you're seeing anything that I'm doing currently or that I've done and you got inspired by that, my work is a result of not giving up, man. My road is definitely been a tough road. It's been a hard road. People now they some people they've hit me and said, "Yo, you an industry plant in boxing." And I'm just like, if you only knew what I had to go through to get here, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to encourage people that like, yo, you could really do the things you want to do if you map out a plan. You map out a real plan. And you persevere, man. Like that to me, that's the story of my career. I just had a plan, and when that plan failed, cool. I made a new plan and I tried this. I made a new plan and I tried this. And I just kept trying until once something's gonna work, man. That's what I'm with. Like, you know what I mean? If I shoot a half-court shot 100 times, 101 is gonna go in. If not 200 times, if not 3, one of these shots is gonna go in, and I'm gonna keep shooting until it works. And that's it, man. So I just want to encourage everybody who's watching, keep doing what you're doing, keep inspiring. And again, bring up the next person. bring up the next wave, bring up the youth behind you. Because, I've always wished, there's definitely been certain people that have helped me. But I wished I had like a mentor or somebody who would be like, yo, let me do this. You know what I mean? A lot of things I had to figure out on my own. So it's important that whoever you are, do you, but also do for the next person behind you.
For sure. I was already a fan, man, but like definitely after this, like first of all, thank you for taking the time. Like I literally just tweeted you and then you hit me back like, yeah, it's cool. And so like that's something that you did not have to do, bro. So like to give me this time and to kind of be as open as you were, like I'm super grateful for that. And look, I got the feeling like I know, bro, this interview is gonna age very well. You know what I mean? Like what you got going on. Like I don't even have to have details, but it's gonna age real well.
I'm happy that we did this, man, because I do think in a couple of years, man, 10 years from now, I think people are gonna look at this interview and be like, man, okay, all right.
Definitely.
Yep.
Where can people follow you?
Follow me at Naji Chill, Naji. That's my name, Naji, Naji Chill. I'm at Naji Chill on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter. I don't really be on Instagram too tough, but I'm on that Twitter though, man. Holla at me on these Twitter streets, man. That's where I be at Naji Chill. And then on YouTube, Cigar Talk. My handle, I think, is at Cigar Talk Show, But just type in Cigar Talk on YouTube and you'll see it. But yeah, man, holla at me, man. I'm accessible. Word.
Definitely. You can follow me. My Instagram for this is the Monarch Brand. Twitter, OK Daniel. Definitely follow my partner, the Praise the Phrase Show. Follow them. Twitter, the ATP Show. IG, the Praise the Phrase Show. But that's all I got, man. This is a really good one. I'm very happy with what we done here, and we out.
We out, man. Thank you.